It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of May 12th, 1995. 6 movies to look at today, so let's just jump on into it. And we'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman in the submarine thriller Crimson Tide.
As you no doubt heard, my XO has appendicitis. Your name was at the top of the list. Oh, that's good to know, sir. It was a short list. There's trouble in Russia. So they called us. And we're going over there and bringing the most lethal killing machine ever devised.
The last time we hit this state of emergency was 32 and a half years ago during the Cuban Missile Crisis. So this is what it's all about, gentlemen. It's what we train for.
Emergency ship.
Diving officer, submerged ship, make a depth 150 feet.
On the 1MC. Die. This summer,
We have a properly formatted emergency action message from National Command Authority.
what we've always known
Bravo, Echo, Charlie, Alpha.
becomes what we've always feared.
Gentlemen, this is the captain. Russian rebels have threatened to launch against our country and are fueling right now.
This is another drill.
Sir, we have a possibly submerged submarine.
You find out who that is.
Receiving emergency action message. Recommend alert 1.
The battle for survival begins.
That's a message fragment.
So we don't know what this message means. Our target package could have changed.
I made a decision.
There's no place for fear.
He's lost his nerve. I'd rather go out myself and get this one wrong.
There's no room for mistakes.
If we launch and we're wrong, what's left of Russia is going to launch at us. I'm captain of this boat. I don't have to think this over.
There's no time for doubt.
Missile system's ready to launch in 6 minutes.
You repeat this order, or I'll find somebody who will. I know you won't, sir. And nothing can stop the tide.
We cannot launch our missiles unless both you and I agree.
They're fueling their missiles.
He's right on top of us.
Under arrest on the charge of mutiny. What's your name?
One Captain Ramsey in his stateroom.
Fire one, now! Give me the missile key, Mr. Hunter. Sir, we are going down. I'm the commander of the ship. Crimson Tide. God help you if you're wrong.
If I'm wrong, then we're at war.
God help us all.
I mean, honestly, you can't go wrong with putting Denzel Washington into anything, honestly, because, as I've said before, I think he's one of the greatest actors, if not the greatest actor we've ever had. I mean, I can't really think of a terrible Denzel Washington movie. There have been some ones that have not been good, but there certainly have been a lot less bad movies than you would think there would be, and he's pretty good, damn good in this movie, and he gets to work off with Gene Hackman in a movie that's really based off of a story, based off a real incident during the Cuban Missile Crisis, with a script that had some unpolished rewrites from Quentin Tarantino, directed by Tony Scott, of course. Don Simpson, Jerry Bruckheimer just come off of Bad Boys, and it's just a damn good movie. It's a great submarine thriller. I mean, there's been a lot of great submarine thriller movies that I've talked about in the past. Hunt for Red October, of course, comes to mind. I've mentioned Das Boot a couple of times, and U-571 is one that I think of too. Just a lot of great movies in this genre, and this is another great one here. You have a cast that has Washington and Hackman, but you also have George DeZunja, Viggo Mortensen, James Gandolfini is in here as well. It's just a brilliant movie, man. It's just a stylistic movie. Tension-filled as all hell, great action, great thrills all around, great writing all around. Just a phenomenal movie. I can't recommend this movie enough. Crimson Tide, a great movie. Can't recommend it enough. So, with that said, let us move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is Hugh Grant in the comedy The Englishman Who Went Up a Hill But Came Down a Mountain.
A map maker named Anson has come to measure a mountain,
All this way just to measure our mountain.
but he's got an uphill battle on his hands.
Settle all bet. How high is our mountain?
984 feet.
What?
This is the measurement. And in no way should detract from the beauty of or your affection for this hill.
Yesterday it was a mountain, today it's a hill. 20 feet, that's all we need. A 20-foot dump and we have our mountain. Am I the only one that thinks this smacks of cheating?
Siskel and Ebert give it 2 thumbs up.
We would like to convince you to stay longer and measure the mountain again.
We will be leaving first thing in the morning. Like to catch a train.
No trains.
Hugh Grant is as irresistible as he was in 4 Weddings.
Yes, and now I'm going to blush.
Tara Fitzgerald
You had better not be suggesting what I think you're suggesting.
and Cole Meany
It's today or never.
star in the romantic comedy
Are you married?
Sorry.
about a town that wouldn't give up.
And if it needs to be 1,000 feet, then by God, let's make it 1,000 feet.
Have you no shame?
No. I can't think where I've left it.
So this is such a bizarre concept for a romantic comedy. You've got this story about this town that is just 16 feet off of having a hill that could be considered a mountain. So they basically kind of force Hugh Grant to stay put until they can get to 16 feet. I mean, it's just such a weird plot to have within a movie like this, but it kind of takes a backseat to the main story about this relationship between Hugh Grant and Tara Fitzgerald, and then Cole Meany being in this kind of the triangle that they're in, and it's okay for what it is. It's nothing really all that spectacular or all that amazing, but Hugh Grant working with the quirkiness that he brings to these type of movies and these type of performances that he has, and he kind of makes it work here, but other than that, though, there's nothing really all that spectacular about this movie or anything too amazing about it. It's just a passable film. It's got some decent moments here and there, some good comedy, some good lightheartedness to it. Perfectly salvageable for what it is, but nothing too spectacular or crazy. So that's The Englishman Who Went Up a Hill But Came Down a Mountain. So let's move on to the next movie, and it is one of the talking pig movies from 1995, and probably the stupidest one of the two, and that is Gordy.
They say that if you're pure in heart, you can hear the animals talk. Gordy was just an ordinary little piglet.
Where is everybody?
From a typical farm family.
Have you seen my mother?
Until hard times forced them apart.
Gordy, take care of the family.
I promise.
Now he's on a journey.
Lost his family. Oh? Took him away.
In a world that doesn't understand him.
Huh?
Searching for a friend who does.
Wow! Hey, I'll get you. You deserve a reward.
Now meet America's newest hero.
If a pig can make it, anyone can. Sickening.
Companies want him.
You signed Gordy to a lifetime contract.
Audiences love him.
Well, I bet his IQ's as high as mine.
But only children
I could have sworn I heard you say something.
can hear him.
That's right, you did.
You all know why we're here. To help Gordy find his folks.
Walt Disney Home Video presents
Kidnap Gordy.
the story of a talking pig
People can't understand animals if they take the time to listen.
who hit it big
President, he's speaking piggy talk.
and touched the imagination of families everywhere. Gordy.
Give me a goodnight kiss. That's a sweet kiss.
So some might say this actually has kind of an advantage to Babe, since Babe didn't come out until August, and this one came out first, but even if Babe didn't come out in 1995, this would still be seen as kind of a really bad movie. I mean, it's really not a good movie on any means, but it's one of those movies where you look at it, you think it's harmless enough, but then when you really look into this movie and some of the levels that this movie takes, it's just like, it's just too much. I mean, in the beginning of the movie, this pig's family, his father gets sold off, and he's telling them as he's leaving, take care of the family. He's leaving the farm to try to catch up to his father. But then as soon as he came back, as soon as he gets back to the farm, the rooster's just like, oh, by the way, the rest of your family were sold off. Yeah, sorry you missed that part. It's just like, look, and if you think that's crazy enough, it gets crazier and crazier as it goes along. Like, everybody can understand Gordy because, as Gordy says in the trailer, people can understand talking animals as long as they just take the time to listen to it. So it's just like if you have pets at home, just take the time to listen to them, because you know what? You can apparently talk to them, at least by this movie's logic. And it doesn't help that this movie also has a pretty lame villain. It's one of the mothers in this movie who's whose fiance is the bad guy. And it's just like really, like this is where we're heading into this. It's just kind of like I don't know what they were thinking when they were making this movie. It's just so many things happen in here that are just so confusing and make no sense whatsoever. Like it's just such a bizarre movie. And I mean, if there's any positives I could say about it, it has a song in there that's actually kind of not bad. Big Power in the House, which is just like, it's not a good song at all, but I'm sorry, man. Like, once you hear that song, it won't leave your head for a good week or so. It's just like, it's one of those songs that's so ridiculous and so stupid, but you just can't help it. As soon as you start listening to it, it'll be like stuck in your head for at least a week. So, other than that, though, this is a pretty dumb movie. It's a stupid film that's not really all that clever, not really all that funny, and I mean, you might as well just wait a couple more months for the much better movie in Babe, but we'll get to that one eventually. But in the meantime, let's get away from Gordy and let's move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is The Perez Family.
They came to America, each with their own dreams.
I love Elvis Presley. I love rock and roll.
Will my wife be here to meet me?
Oh, nice. You have a wife.
The only thing they had in common
Juan Raúl Perez.
was the same last name.
Dorita Evita Perez.
But if they want to stay in America, they'll need to become a family.
The bigger the family, the quicker we get out of here.
And nothing can bring a family together like Dorita Perez.
I have a solution. You and I can pretend to be married. I take very good care of you.
It's coming today. I feel it. Presenting your wife.
This one is not my wife. She's so unrefined.
She found a husband.
Good morning, Senor Happy.
Who wasn't interested. A son who wasn't related.
Who is this boy?
My lost son. You came back.
And a grandfather.
Your father is up in the tree.
Who didn't have a clue.
This man is not my father.
That's a family.
She's crazy.
She's sitting right over there.
Explain your wife. I have no interest in you. It's a strictly survival.
I know that face anywhere.
Are you sure it wasn't your husband, Mrs. Perez?
I'd run up and embrace her.
Do you love Juan?
But I'm ashamed of
Will you give him up?
Just tell her Jim said hello.
The Samuel Goldwyn Company presents Academy Award winner Marissa Tomei, Alfred Molina, Chaz Palminteri, and Academy Award winner Angelica Houston.
So handsome.
Who could love such a woman?
I'd like to
The Perez Family, directed by Mira Nair.
just tell her Jim.
So where to even begin with what's wrong with this movie? For one thing, Marissa Tomei, Alfred Molina, Angelica Houston, Chaz Palminteri, none of these people are Cuban, so that's already strike one against this movie. Strike two, the whole movie exists because these two people who know nothing about each other apparently have the same last name, and that's more than enough to get them into America. But it's just like, that's strike two, I guess. But strike three, the movie just isn't anything any good. Like, it's just not a good movie. And this is Mira Nair, who we talked about a couple of her movies before. In fact, actually one movie, Mississippi Masala, which is a great movie, a very underrated Denzel Washington film. But yeah, it just doesn't work here. There's just so much there that does not work. And you got these great actors in here, and they don't even make a good realistic couple in this movie. Marissa Tomei and Alfred Molina. You could just tell by the way they talk to each other. There's not that much chemistry there, and like everybody else in here is just kind of phoning it in. There's just nothing about this movie that really stands out and says, yeah, this needed to be made the way this is actually presented. And it's just like, there's just nothing there. Like, honestly, they're trying their best, but it just doesn't work as a movie. It's just not entertaining whatsoever. So yeah, that's a hard skip on this one. So let's move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is A Little Princess.
Summer, there's a land of enchantment.
Did you ever know real princes and princesses?
Yes.
There's a place of magic.
Magic has to be believed. That's the only way it's real.
And only your imagination can take you there.
Just make believe it.
Welcome to the world of A Little Princess.
All sounds so adventurous.
The beloved beloved children's classic from the author of The Secret Garden, A Little Princess.
So this is a movie based off of a novel by Frances Hodgson Burnett, who also did The Secret Garden, which Warner Brothers turned into a movie 2 years prior to this. It was actually a pretty good movie, and this is a really good film as well. But unlike The Secret Garden, this was not a big success at the box office, but it was a critical success, and actually Warner Brothers re-released this film later on in the year, hoping to get some buzz building toward it, because the critical response for it was pretty good, and this is a nicely made film. It definitely has a lot of the things that made The Secret Garden work as well as it did. It's a very nice film, very well written, has a great young cast involved in here, it's a really interesting take on the story, and it's very well done. Has some beautiful cinematography by Emmanuel Lubezki, and also has some great artwork, art direction as well. The movie is stylistically beautiful. Of course, it's directed by Alfonso Cuarón, who would later go on to direct the Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, along with Children of Men, some other great movies as well. I mean, it is a really good film. It's a really good underrated film that did not get the proper respect it deserved back then. It has gone on to have a massive following on home video, and it has a following elsewhere. I'm glad people have discovered it, because it really is a little underrated gem that a lot of people did not talk about back then. But it's gotten the proper respect it has deserved. It definitely deserved beforehand, though. So I can't recommend this one enough. Definitely check out A Little Princess. With that said, let us move on to the last movie that we have here, and that is Gumby the movie.
When the mighty Rangers are busy morphing, when the most powerful mutants are out exploring, when the super samurai are conquering cyberspace, when you desperately need a hero, who are you really going to call?
Me, Gumby.
Gumby, the movie. Finally, a hero we can call our own. Gumby, the movie.
Yeah, this is another one of those ones where I used to watch this one a lot as a kid, mostly because I watched the Gumby TV series when it was on Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon back in the day. But even as a fan of that, I look back at this movie and I realized that this movie really wasn't anything all that special, and it was mostly because they didn't do anything really special to make this a feature-length movie caliber film, like a movie caliber film. Like, there's not really a interesting story that takes up a good hour and a half, like a good movie adaptation should. It's nothing too grand or something that's completely outside the norm for the movie. It's from the original TV series itself, but it's I don't know. Like, I'm very mixed on this one. I mean, on the one hand, I do kind of enjoy it, mostly because of my love of it as a kid, but as somebody who has seen this movie multiple times, I look at it and I'm just kind of like, this is okay, but did this really need to be a movie that needs to be seen on a big screen? There's nothing really about it that screams big screen caliber adventure. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like there was anything there that warrants a big theatrical release like this movie got. Big theatrical releases cutting it kind of a bit, because it was a box office flop when it came out. It didn't have a huge theatrical opening. It kind of had a very limited rollout, but it did have kind of a fan base when it got to home video and all that. And it has had somewhat of a following over the years. It's not a bad movie per se. The stop motion animation does work the claymation animation, I should say, it does work very well here. And there are a couple of funny moments that did kind of make me laugh, like this moment in particular.
We've split the chromosomes. We've got to reverse it. Patch in the DNA synthesizer component immediately.
Dude pushing random buttons like he's having a seizure or something. That just makes me laugh all the time whenever I see that. But other than that, though, this movie is kind of forgettable, but at the same time, I do have kind of a little bit of a nostalgic feel for it, because I did watch the show a lot when I was a kid. But yeah, like I said, it's nothing too special, but for Gumby fans, I think they get what they deserve. I think they probably deserve a little bit better than this, but take what you get, and you get something a little bit enjoyable out of it. So, yeah, so that's Gumby the movie. So on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We only got 2 movies to look at next time around. 2 notable films, including Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson in the third installment of the Die Hard series, Die Hard with a Vengeance. We also have Billy Crystal and Deborah Winger starring in the comedy Forget Paris. So we'll look at those 2 movies next time around. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next time, and until then, as always, take care.